The provision of safe and easy access to the built environment is fundamental to participation in community life. Anthony and Michael from the Institute of Access Training Australia will take you on a journey through a local business and shopping precinct to highlight some of the access issues that must be considered in the development of an accessible built environment. Accessible car parking. Accessible car parking bays located as close as possible to the principal pedestrian entry of a building or person's destination are important. The bay should be wide enough to allow a person using a wheelchair easy access from either side, as well as room for someone providing assistance, if required, to use the bay easily and safely. The vehicle door may need to be opened to its fullest extent, and a person may need to move within the bay to assist a passenger. A person who cannot move quickly will need extra time to enter or exit a vehicle. Assistance may be needed into the vehicle with moving limbs and using seat belts. Everyone is different, but adequate space is required to ensure all of these tasks can be undertaken safely. The surface of the bay should be firm, slip-resistant and level to support easy access and to ensure a wheelchair does not roll away when placed near the vehicle. Adequate space to safely load a mobility aid into the side or back of the vehicle and provision of longer bays for larger vehicles should also be considered. Overhead clearance is required to ensure the door of a rear-loading vehicle, a roof-mounted wheelchair hoist, or a storage device can be used without encountering any obstructions. Provision of shelter is also worth considering, particularly in climates with weather extremes. Signage. Accessible signage incorporating appropriate symbols, large print, sentence case, and raised tactile and braille elements makes wayfinding easier for everyone. Many people with vision impairment are not totally blind and will be able to locate a sign and use the raised tactile elements to feel the words. Some people will also read braille. Grade 1 braille or uncontracted braille should always be used on signs. A raised tactile and braille sign should be located so that a person can reach it when seated. Ramps. An alternative to stairs should be provided into buildings and along pathways. A clear, firm, slip-resistant surface should be provided to and along any ramp. Tactile ground surface indicators should be installed at the top and bottom. The gradient of a ramp should meet the required Australian standards for access. Steep ramps should be avoided as they will not be usable by many people. There should be sufficient space for a person using a wheelchair to turn easily at any curve in the ramp. Handrails should be easy to grip and installed so that they do not impede a person's hand from moving freely along the full length of the rail. Fittings that create obstructions can injure a person and make it difficult for some people to maintain their balance. Ramps should be as wide as possible to allow two people to pass each other easily when coming from opposite directions. This is particularly important for a person using a mobility aid. Curbs should be installed on both sides of the ramp so a person using a wheelchair does not run off the edge. The curb should not allow a person's foot or footplate to be caught. Landings must be incorporated into longer ramps to provide level areas for users to stop and to rest if necessary. Stairs. Stairs should be provided close to or in conjunction with ramps. Some people will prefer to use stairs, particularly if a ramp is long or steep, or if they feel unstable on a sloped surface. Stairs should incorporate enclosed risers and effective contrast nosings on the treads so that each step tread can be seen easily. Handrails that are easily gripped and that extend past the top and bottom of the last steps are important. The ends of the handrail should return back to a post or wall to ensure they do not project into any adjoining pathway. Entrances. Self-opening doors provide good access to buildings if they are installed correctly. They should incorporate both motion and presence sensors so they do not close on a person who may be stationary in the doorway. A solid contrasting strip across the width of any glass door as well as surrounding glass panels are also essential, particularly for people with vision impairment. Logos can be placed on the solid strip but should not be used as an alternative. Counters. Fixtures and fittings that support ease of access should always be considered. A low-height counter with adequate leg clearance provides the opportunity for a person using a wheelchair or a smaller person to easily interact with customer service staff. The availability of a seat with a back and armrests supports an older person who may need to sit down. Similarly, low-height sinks, benches, tables and other fixtures and fittings will enhance access for all. Hearing augmentation. Hearing augmentation in customer service areas, meeting rooms, and assembly buildings provides support for people with hearing impairment to participate in conversations more easily without missing out on key information being discussed. Customer service. Of course, as well as access issues related to the built environment, access barriers can also be created or often overcome by the attitude of customer service staff. A great attitude and a willingness to ask a person if they need any assistance can mean the difference between good access or no access being available. You don't have to be an access expert, you just need to be willing to assist people if necessary and provide equitable, dignified access. Internal areas. Clear, wide access ways in internal areas, as well as appropriate handrails on stairs and ramps, are required. Some people using wheelchairs may need handrails to assist with their movement and even steering of their wheelchair. Toilets. Toilets are fundamental for everyone. Clear, concise signage indicating the direction to an accessible facility should be provided. Access ways need to be wide enough for a person using a mobility aid to move freely and make turns where necessary without encountering any barriers. D or lever-style handles on doors makes access easier, and a kick plate can assist in preventing door damage. An occupied indicator that can be used when seated is important, and a door that is wide enough for use by people using large mobility aids is essential. Adequate circulation space inside the toilet is critical, so a person can easily access all required fixtures and fittings independently. Appropriate grab rails that can hold a person's weight are essential on both the back and side walls, as different people will use the toilet in different ways. Some will be able to use their legs for support when transferring onto the toilet, while others may have upper body strength only or may need to slide from their wheelchair onto the pan. Without encountering any barriers, a person must be able to move to the wash basin and access lever or sensor-operated taps, soap, and hand dryers from a seated position. Dryers should be located close to the basin, so a person does not have to put their hands on their wheelchair prior to drying them. Waste bins need to be accessible but not be an obstacle. Easy to operate door locks, effective door closers, and doors that can be opened from the outside in an emergency are all crucial. Doors. All doors along a path of travel should provide ease of access for all users. Any door controls should be located at an accessible height and be large enough to operate by people who may have limitation to fine motor skills. Small buttons can be difficult to see and use, and controls that are too high are of little use. Controls located close to a corner can also be difficult to access. External built environment. Access to and through the external built environment can present a number of access challenges. Whilst pathways may be wide and provide appropriate surfaces, if these are not maintained, access barriers are created. Tree branches and overhanging foliage that is left to grow across pedestrian areas means that people may be forced off the pathway and be unable to proceed on their journey. Streetscapes. The ability for people to move easily through their local shopping areas and streetscapes is fundamental to supporting independence. Good access is good business, so local businesses and shopping precincts that provide good access are likely to attract more customers, who otherwise may have chosen to go to the larger freestanding shopping complexes where good access is often more readily available. Installation of curb ramps at road crossing points that align with another on the opposite side of the road make the journey safer and easier to negotiate. A median that is wide enough for people to stop if necessary is also important. Curb ramps incorporating tactile ground surface indicators are important for people with vision impairment. Accessible pathways that connect key elements within streetscapes support ease of movement. However, steep ramps can make it difficult for independent access. To be able to move easily and safely throughout an entire precinct without encountering barriers is paramount if a person is to effectively access desired destinations, including public transport stops, car parking, shops, and other services. Road crossings that incorporate a signal sensor zone allow a person using a wheelchair to wait at the zone while the sensor triggers the signal to stop the traffic. A variety of crossing installations are now being utilised at various locations to improve access for everyone. There should be enough time for a person to cross the road safely without the need to rush. Curb ramps, free from lips or steep gradients, need to be installed to support easy movement from the roadway to the pathway. Shelter over areas where people may need to wait to cross are also helpful. Access to all elements of the built environment is mandatory. The Australian Standards for Access and Mobility detail the minimum requirements for access to buildings. Further standards provide additional information regarding specific access requirements for key elements such as car parking and lifts. However, access to the built environment is not just about meeting legal obligations. Businesses and services that are accessible will reap the benefits of attracting more customers, including people with disabilities, older adults, and parents with prams, as well as supporting their own staff. Good access starts with the right attitude. Good access for one should mean good access for all. In summary, there are a wide range of access issues that must be taken into consideration in the built environment. This DVD has highlighted a number of these. In a very short journey through a local business and shopping precinct, they have included car parking, signage, pathways, ramps, stairs, entrances, fixtures and fittings, hearing augmentation, internal access ways, toilets, streetscapes. There are many more access issues that will need to be addressed in order to ensure an accessible built environment is provided for all people. So we encourage you to let the learning continue and to understand the benefits and opportunities of providing access for all.